Yo, what's up? It's the Blastmaster KRS-One. I'm right now at Rice University. I'm chilling in Houston, Texas. Last night, or the night before last, we did Dallas, Texas. Actually, last night. No, the night before last. We did Dallas, Texas. It was a wonderful concert. We're here now in Houston, Texas. We stopped to make a contribution to our community, talk a little bit. Hip hop seems to be in that room over there. We got a lot to discuss. We'll be right back.
What I did was pulled a couple strings. and this is a Lifetime Achievement Award. This is a Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award. For everything that you have done in the community. When I read that you had been to over 500 universities and all of that, I say no. See, I'm the kind of person that like to award people when I get the opportunity, and people that do things behind the scene and they think no one is looking. So I had to give this to you. And then you have a letter, the letters from the White House, from President Biden himself. Yes, that's the letter, it's right behind it. I just didn't want to cover up your award. And then also, this is the presidential. When you come to this town, and I had to take this opportunity, and I want to tell you my favorite song is Love, the one.
Love's Gonna Get
Love's Gonna Get You. Yes, that's my favorite song. Okay, I'm not done.
Love Doctor.
Yes. So
You see this?
Peace, everyone. It is KRS-One, and you are now tuned into the Temple of Hip Hop. As you can see, I'm in another hotel room because I'm on tour, and we're promoting the Temple of Hip Hop on the West Coast, coming all the way back over to the East Coast. We're handing out flyers, we're doing lectures, we're doing seminars, and so on. As you saw in Houston, Texas, which is where I am right now, as you saw, I received actually 2 awards, sort of an honoring at Rice University, but it was sort of like 2 awards, one for volunteership and the other one as a Lifetime Achievement Award, both coming out of the president's office. That was a shock to me in that sense. I did not go to Rice University for that honor. In fact, what we did was we were discussing hip hop, really. We were there, I was being called there to discuss hip hop because Rice University, you guys should just know this as well, it's an Ivy League, it's considered one of the Ivy League schools, one of the more prestigious schools to attend, universities to attend. They specialize in a variety of subjects, one of which is theology. And we got into this conversation with some of the professors of Rice University, as well as organizers in Houston, Texas, about hip hop as a viable spiritual path. We've been talking about this for many years, and some people are with the idea, others don't know what to think, some are even offended. But at the end of the day, the truth is still there that hip hop, for some of us, is a spiritual path. It's a cultural, philosophical, and spiritual path. That's why we meet every, well, say Sunday. I was going to say every day, but every Sunday we meet here in this forum, 12 o'clock noon, to discuss another aspect of our culture from the spiritual, philosophical, and cultural aspects. As you know, this is the Temple of Hip Hop. This is how we've been doing our teachings. We do our teachings on the road because they're up to date. We're teaching in real time, and this is what it is. But we are now located in Brick City, Newark, New Jersey, 55 Ludlow Street, Newark, New Jersey, 07114. So, having said that, this tour that we're on is the promotion of not only our space in Brick City, but also what it is that we teach. And what's interesting is that we're moved by spirit. You already know this. But when you're moved by spirit, sometimes what you see as an error or a mistake or even old knowledge is usually exactly what you need at that moment. Now, this is not to make excuses for failure or for mistakes or for, whatever, you tried to do this and it didn't happen. That's not an excuse for that. What we're talking about here is a certain sensitivity to the path of the spirit. And so with hip hop, when we look at this, matter of fact, before I even say within hip hop, let me come to something up to date right now in real time. So shout out to and big respect to the temple members that alerted us that we skipped a couple of performances last week. Last week I did Perform Skill. But Perform Skill doesn't come up for almost a month later, 3 weeks later. But for some reason, I was moved last week to give that particular lesson. And people heard the lesson, and of course the response is, that's what was needed to be said last week. But it was an error, because what was supposed to have been said was Perform Faith. And so I jumped over Faith, I think a couple actually, I got my notes here. Well, let me see. I jumped over Perform Faith, I jumped over a couple of our performances and went right to Skill. Why I did that, there's no excuse. It was an error. However, you temple members that are paying attention called me to the error. You skipped over a few, and we caught that. And so I looked at it and I said, but how is that possible? See, first, we acknowledge the error first. Word, we got to fix that. But then you go deeper because we're on a spiritual journey here. So you ask yourself, well, why that then? Why that then? Why give Perform Skill last week? Well, it appears, at least in the life that I'm living right now, that, and I wrote some notes down here too, that what we're going to do, first let me say this, what we're going to do is we're going to replace Perform Skill with Perform Faith. So whereas last week I was supposed to speak or teach Perform Faith, and then like 3 weeks later Perform Skill would have come in, we already did Perform Skill. So where Perform Skill comes in at, we're going to now do Perform Faith. Now this week, we are on Perform Overstanding. Perform Overstanding. And this is, let me also just get my thing here together, because there's a couple of pieces I want to show you relating to that. I'm skipping Faith and going right to Perform Overstanding because Perform Faith is going to be Perform Faith is going to be in place of Perform Skill. So here we are with Perform Overstanding. Now, before we get to Perform Overstanding, I got to tell you about the mission and how this lines up. And remember, what's the backdrop? Why did I do Perform Skill then and skip over these other performances to have to do them now? The performance we're discussing now is Perform Overstanding. And this performance is what has happened this week. Let's go over this. First and foremost, okay, so since our last call, we've been to Albuquerque, New Mexico. We've been to El Paso, Texas. We've been to Dallas, Texas. We're promoting ourselves there. We're doing our concerts, but afterwards, flyers are getting handed out. people are getting discussed, and even random people like at the hotels and restaurants, we're just promoting the temple of hip hop. And so when I got to Houston, Texas, which was Thursday, now get this, I'm driving, okay? To get from Dallas, Texas to Houston, Texas is about 4 hours, about 3.5 hours, up to 4 hours. But when we started out to drive, mad traffic. So that 3-4 hour trip turned into a 6-7 hour trip. And so we got now there to, I was there to do a lecture. I was supposed to be able to come into Houston, Texas, check into my hotel, get freshened up, and then go to the lecture at Rice University, where I'm discussing with Professor Penn hip hop. And the reason we was at Rice University is because I've been speaking to professors across the country and whoever else I can talk to, and you guys have heard me say this as well, that I'm staunchly against the colonization of the hip hop teaching profession. That we are not going to allow the hip hop teaching profession to wind up the way rap music did, meaning that there was original MCs that knew the craft and stayed with the principles of the culture that created the craft. But when they started rhyming and showing everybody what it was, then everyone mimicked them, mimicked the original MCs to be MCs themselves. And the same thing with DJs, breakers, graffiti writers, and so on. A little less with graffiti writing because you have to actually have a hand skill to be a graffiti writer. But most people were able to look at a DJ, see what he or she was doing, and say, oh, I want to do that too. So they just took the skill of DJing, but it did not come with no principles, no history, no heritage, really no power. So you are the artificial intelligence. You're the artificial version of hip hop, not the organic. Now, some of us are the organic versions of hip hop. And that just doesn't include the pioneers of hip hop. Today, people are being born organically hip hop. You already doing graph. You already DJing and beats already in your mind. You already MCing. When you look at another MC, you see yourself. You don't see something to mimic. You see somebody doing the same thing you do, or the same thing you feel, or they writing the same way you would write. That's an authentic hip hopper. That when you see somebody doing something, you're not mimicking it. You're not copying them. They are confirming for you who you are. And so you're going to come with a whole different way to do this particular art or expression or so on. You're going to come with a whole nother way to do it because you're not copying somebody else. You're actually being inspired by another fellow hip hopper, and now you're going to get into yourself and express yourself and your art and your mastery and blah, blah, blah. Now, apply all that to teaching. KRS-One is hip hop's first master teacher. I say that all the time, and I say that humbly because it's a historical fact, but it's humble. You say that with humility, and I do. Matter of fact, I say that with aggravation because it's a burden to be hip-hop's teacher or to be a hip-hop teacher. It's a burden. It's a burden. It's a blessing, but it's a burden too. And you got to ask yourself, if you're going to be a hip-hop teacher, are you willing to take that burden on of teaching your people? And you got to have patience, and you got to have faith, and you got to have belief in your people, and blah, 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 blah. And you got to study. So Rice University got a wind of all of this, called me up, and said, we'd like you to come and discuss hip hop. Now, I didn't know it was a setup, okay? I had no idea. They said, come and discuss hip hop because we understand what it is that you're talking about here. And Rice University was going to be, or is going to be, one of the first universities to acknowledge this claim, to acknowledge that KRS-One is the master teacher, and we are deriving our understanding of hip hop from him and people like him, meaning our pioneers. Others, you yourselves, hip hop cultural specialists, the universities have to acknowledge that the teaching of hip hop does not come from the university system. The teaching of hip hop comes from the culture of hip hop, and that is embedded within the temple of hip hop created by hip hop's first master teacher, KRS-One. Universities now are beginning to acknowledge that lineage because culture is not just taught, it is passed on. You have to be able to explain your roots. You have to be able to explain your heritage, your legacy. By what principles do you stand upon? What is your moral authority, your ethical authority to teach a culture or to teach anything for that matter? But in our case, it's teach culture. To teach hip hop's culture, how do you get your credentials to actually do that? Well, now we have the Temple of Hip Hop, which is why I'm on this tour promoting it to universities, to government officials, to hip hop itself, and to others who may know nothing about what we're doing or the options that they have to legitimize their teaching of hip hop. So Rice University started it, kicked it off. I came through Texas. They would not allow me to just perform. They said, just get over here to Rice University so we could discuss hip hop. Sat down with a professor, Professor Penn. Oh man, this dude was amazing. I'm sitting down ready to get into it. I'm like, these are just professors. They don't know anything. They think they know. And so I'm going to get ready. So I'm ready now to not so much debate, but to teach a professor what real hip hop is, or how we teach it, I should say. I sit down with this man. He started telling me my teachings. I broke it down. Well, we understand that there's 3 spellings to hip hop. Can you go over that for our audience? So you got hip hop as consciousness, hip hop as culture, and then hip hop as commerce. And he's telling me this. He's going over 9 elements. We got into a discussion on the spelling of hip hop, the capital H. All of this in front of other PhDs and others eager to know how to teach hip hop correctly. And of course, lay people, MCs, DJs in the audience, it was all live. But the discussion was about KRS-One's, or should I say this, the discussion became about KRS-One's teaching of hip hop and the temple of hip hop. We even brought up the Hip Hop Declaration of Peace. Excuse me. We even brought up the Hip Hop Declaration of Peace. And this is at Rice University, talking to a master theologian. He's the professor there. And I'm calling him a master theologian because that's what his students were calling him. While we were there, the man had big respect on the campus, was the one awarded to speak to KRS-One about this issue because he was the most knowledgeable about hip hop and KRS. We sat down, his knowledge came right out. He guided the conversation to how his peers can understand hip hop. He was very knowledgeable. And what it made me think too is when I also say we have to be studied in our own materials. Those of you that know me or have traveled with me, studied with me in person, you know that I'm always saying to you that you are the first to get this knowledge. You are the first to get it. But as this knowledge goes out, more and more people are going to adopt what we have for ourselves privately. And this is the intent. More and more people are going to see, all right, hip means aware. Hop is movement. What more are we than awareness moving? Oh, you know, there is a hip hop declaration of peace. What do we want in our lives? Peace and prosperity. We want to live the good life. People are waking up to this. And they're waking up to it because they're stumbling across our teachings. We've been consistent for coming up now on 3-4 years now. And we're speaking the truth. This ain't about race, class, age. This ain't even really about religion or occupation and all of that stuff. It's not about that. It's really about the truth. And that's what the temple of hip hop is all about, the truth. So when you speak truth, and not just speak truth to power, but more importantly, speak truth to the powerless, so that they may realize themselves. Speak truth to the powerless. Well, we've been doing that for 35 years. And when I got to Rice University, after discussing with the professor what it was and blah, 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 these two African women, Kandake professors, hip hoppers, they came out, and I got some of it here. I'm going to read it into our record. This is the first one here, and y'all saw this. I got this award here, Lifetime Achievement Award to the teacher, KRS-One. This is from President Joe Biden, from his office, from the office of Joe Biden. They went and got this for me as a surprise, as a matter of fact. I did not expect this. But this came, Lifetime Achievement Award, and here's what it says. It says, with grateful recognition, AmeriCorps, which is a volunteer organization. I'm gonna get back to that in a minute. With grateful recognition, AmeriCorps and the Office of the President of the United States honors the teacher, KRS-One, with the President's Lifetime Achievement Award for their lifelong commitment to building a stronger nation through volunteer service. So those who do this service gets this award. If the president or his office recognizes your volunteer service, you get this kind of award right here, this piece right here. So not only is this a Lifetime Achievement Award, what it made me think about is the volunteer. Like, you know, you get awards for this, the Presidential Freedom Award, there's the Presidential this or that, but the award that comes to KRS-One is a volunteer award. And see, this means something to me in this sense. Not so much, I mean, of course, look, a presidential award is prestigious in and of itself, no doubt. But you know I'm not hung up on it, okay? That's not why we do this work. I'm totally grateful, though, humbled, that the president's office would even know who KRS-One is. I am humbled in that sense. But more importantly is this letter that came as well. This is a letter that also came from the White House, signed by President Joe Biden. And here's what the letter says that comes with the award. It says, the American story depends not on any one of us, not on some of us, but on all of us. I congratulate you on taking it upon yourself to contribute to the public good. And I'm proud to present you with the President's Lifetime Achievement Award in recognition of your, get this, 8,612 hours of service to this great nation. Now stop here for a minute. I'm trying to realize, excuse me, I'm trying to realize here, how did they come up with 8,612 hours? Simone, she says, it's like 25, 30 years, something like that. We're still doing the math on it. I just got this the other day. So I'm reading you this, okay? So they got, according to the U.S. government, I have volunteered 8,612 hours of work to this great nation, quote. Continuing, throughout our country's history, the American story has been strengthened by those who combine an optimism about what can be with the resilience to turn that vision into reality. I know I'm not alone in recognizing that those who are willing to step up and volunteer in service of community and country are essential to the ongoing work of forming our more perfect union. By sharing your time, and passion, You are helping discover and deliver solutions to the challenges we face, solutions that we need now more than ever. We are living in a moment that calls for hope and light and love. Look at that. This is a government, okay? Look at it. We are living in a moment that calls for hope and light and love. Hope for our futures, light to see our way forward, and love for one another. This is governance. Let me hit you with it again. Hope for our futures, light to see our way forward, and love for one another. Through your service, you are providing all three. That's in this document right here. On behalf of the American people, I extend my heartfelt appreciation to you for your volunteer leadership, and I encourage you to continue to answer the call to serve. The country is counting on you. Signed, Joseph R. Biden Jr. That came with this that got draped over my neck by the women that made this whole thing possible. This is the president's Volunteer Service Award. I didn't even read it. The President's Volunteer Service Award. Now, what's interesting here, excuse me, like I said, awards from the president, any president, is prestigious enough. Like I say all the time, the true award for a person like me is an award from the people themselves. The people that I'm teaching are the people that I look to be awarded or acknowledged from. If I'm teaching my hip hop community, I'm not looking for a BET award or MT, and I'm not dissing or calling them out. I'm just giving it to you straight, okay? I'm not interested in these entertainment awards. That doesn't do nothing for us or me. I'm interested in the awards of our people. People who are on the front lines doing stuff, making community better, preaching a good word, educating people. And I don't care who you are. If you walk up to me like most of you do, when we in the supermarket or wherever I'm at, gas station, the average person that walks up and says, yo, Chris, man, you got me through this. Or, yo, man, I just want to say thank you, or whatever it is. That's my reward. That's my award. That's my acknowledgement. However, I'm coming up on 60. So the people that I'm teaching are 50, 40, 30, 55, 60 themselves. We're chief of police now. We're chief of fire now. We're doctors. We're lawyers. We're politicians. We're teachers. We're professors in university and public school and private school and home school. We're teachers now. We're mothers and fathers. We're grandmothers, grandfathers now. So when I say I look for the award of my people, at this stage in the game, who are your people? At this stage in the game, at least for KRS, the teacher, look at this. Last night, last night we did our concert. Night before that, we was at another club. Night before that, it was Rice University. But here's the point, okay? All through the club, MCs are coming up to me, giving me the thanks, this kind of thing. Dude's even going so far as to say that I'm the father of the Texas style of rhyming. I had 3 MCs, old school dudes, the legends that are here in Houston, say, yo, we got our cadence off of Still Number One. If you listen to Still Number One and My Philosophy, that way in which you was rapping, that became our way to. I done got that the whole time I was here, as a matter of fact. And Scarface himself came right out with it. I can't even hear Scar. I can't even listen to him, okay? Because I of course, we all respect the work that Scarface has put down, and Ghetto Boys before that. We respect that work. So to come into Houston and receive hip-hop love like this, I mean, from the academia who took it to the president's office, down to the street hood dude spitting raw in the corner, they said, KRS-One, this is what it is. So now, who is your audience? As we were speaking, myself, Professor Penn, and I, as we were speaking there, we got into a conversation about governance and about government. And I said to him, I have to reveal something, and you guys have heard me say this, but I'm gonna say it again, that I'm changing my view about government and by proxy about voting, American history, all of this type of stuff. I'm keeping my same spirit, okay? That ain't going nowhere. But I'm a student of truth. And so as I follow the truth, I'm noticing that the way I thought 20 years ago is not the way to think right now. Not that you have to contradict yourself from 20 years ago. This is called maturity. This is called development. The love and development of yourself. You know the acronym for lady, love and develop yourself, or lad, love and develop. The idea, though, is to love and develop yourself. But that loving and developing of yourself requires that when you gain new knowledge, you adopt it into your character. And you don't have to replace something else unless that other thing was wrong. Like you was living something completely wrong and you found the truth. Now you have to replace it. But this path is not really about that. It's really about letting truth guide you. Not just as a written thing, oh, I know the fact, I know the truth. No, truth is life. Now check out what's going on. You know, from the time really before, when we started talking about hip-hopia, we started talking about the governance of hip-hop. When we was talking about hip-hopia, we was talking about the governance of hip-hop. And that's why we got the Hip-Hop Declaration of Peace. That's why we went to the United Nations. That's why we went to Senator Chuck Schumer and others and got their blessing, so to speak, within proclamations. And we've been working with them for like 20 years to establish hip-hop as culture. We've been discussing this. And our route is government. It's not corporate. It's government. That's the route we chose to take as the Temple of Hip Hop, based on our research. But KRS-One is a staunch critic of government, and you know this. I'm not giving that spirit up. And check this out, and look at this, how truth guides you. Here you have Mr. Sound of the Police. I have records, staunch critic against the improper practices of policing, police officers, law enforcement. Guess who's my #1 fans, concurring with me every step of the way? Police officers. I got a record out, Black Cop. Guess who's the #1 fans? Can't leave me alone. Black police officers. Now it moves into government. I'm not a voter. I'm not running with no politicians. I'm not messing with no this, no that. Mayor Ras J. Baraka. And like I said, Senator Chuck Schumer, Killer Chuck, Vanessa Gibson, Bronx Borough President, there, Piriana Sanchez, Councilwoman, Councilwoman for the Bronx, Mayor Eric Adams, Hip Hop Mayor, there, Black Cop too, by the way, there as well. All of these people I've had a wonderful experience with. Wonderful. And I'm even talking about the downside too. Dudes coming up with all type of stuff. You know, politicians, okay? But the whole experience has been great. The whole experience. I'm not lost for anything. I'm not damaged in any way, politically in that sense. I've not been compromised. I'm the same me. In fact, I still have to do my same songs and my same rhetoric, and my books are out. So I'm on record with staunch critiques. But guess what? The government agrees with my critique of it. You talk about quieting a revolutionary. And look at this, my teacher Kwame Ture told me this was gonna happen. He said, if you're successful, Chris, in your revolution, you're gonna sit in the seat of those who are oppressing you right now. And it was an impossible dream at the time when he said it. But now we're at a point where we can see hip hop is becoming the US government, or at least a portion of it. A big portion of it. Where this is not about color or race anymore. Although it's mad black folk making these things happen, I ain't gonna front. My sisters were jet black people, PhD sisters, and brothers. Big up to Rashad. What? Shout out to Steve Rogers over here as well. Dude that brought me out here, as a matter of fact. All of these dudes, Houston, these are powerful black people that brought KRS-One through here, giving me these awards from the president's office and spitting raw rhymes with me in these clubs. I'm eating out here. They own restaurants. These dudes out here doing it in Houston straight up, okay? But then there's the white folk. They wildin' out here too. Feeling it, feeling what hip hop is about. I've had some great conversations. We're gonna move forward as well. No one sees color, race. I mean, I know on news and on TV, sure, the bullshit is still going down. This is still Texas. Don't get it twisted. But the experience that I'm having in Houston, Dallas and Houston, Texas, is precisely the prophecy that we've envisioned some 10, 20, 30 years ago. So when the truth is in your face, this is the issue. Do you hold on to old ideas because you want to be consistent with an old self? And look at it, this is right. Consistency breeds trust. Consistency gets things done. Consistency confirms your identity. But you get to a point in life where you do have to not contradict yourself, but further develop. Resting upon the ideas you already have, can you go further? Well, I'm being forced to go further because I'm engaging real government in real time, and they're responding in real time. And what they're saying is, Chris, what you saying ain't new to us. Matter of fact, we struggling ourselves within government to get these issues corrected. And thus, you begin to see what government is. It's not a stagnant thing like it's presented on television. This is an ongoing event. That's what it is. An event. You jump in the event, and based on your skill, you can manipulate the entire event. Based on who you are and what you know and what your skill is. And that's why so many people are attracted to government, to running for office, because you do see that glimmer of hope. You do see that light that can lead the way, and you have a love for one another. You have a love for people. But without a strong spiritual background, without a strong spiritual foundation, you can get corrupted. You can get corrupted. You see it all through government life. You're at the seat of power. You have money flowing. If you ain't got something in you that keeps you grounded, keep your hand off the hot stove, following law, being a poor righteous teacher, oh, you gotta have something in you to achieve that. And most don't. They do see this other part about light and hope and love, But the principles that you have to hold on to, the principles that protect you from selling out, the principles that look, for me, it's been 35 years. Dudes was dissing, talking against. You know, this is what it's been. But if you stay steadfast on your path, eventually you arrive at this spot that I seem to be at right now. Rice University is accepting our teachings as the teachings for hip hop, and other universities are beginning to do the same. I get this illustrious award and recognition, not only from the president's office, not only from the White House and the president's office, but more importantly, from my people, from my peers, and my people meaning hip hop. Yes, Houston's black, no doubt. There ain't no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But this was not a black award, nor was this a White House recognition award. This was not handed to me by Biden himself. No, I didn't receive this at the White House. No, a few phone calls were made. And obviously the professors at Rice College, having an in to the White House, was saying, yo, we bring in the teacher. And somebody at the White House had to say, oh, this is the honor, we're gonna allow this to go down. So for me, it's not just so much these honorings. I do appreciate them, yes I do. But to be called a volunteer, that right there is what hits the heart. A volunteer. Because really that's all we doing. That's all we doing. We see our community in trouble and we're volunteering to help it out. This sums up the whole mission, the whole thing. And to be recognized for it, the sister said, she called herself Dr. Love. Oh, just crazy. PhD sister, the one handing me the award. She said, we're giving you this award in acknowledgement that you know that we see what you do. She said she said, I'm trying to remember what she said, but I'm paraphrasing. It had to do with when you don't think anybody is looking, we looking. We see you. We see what you're doing, and we want to acknowledge it here at Rice University through the president's office. Or should I say, the president's office wanted to acknowledge it through Rice University. So we get these plaques, these medals, this letter, and so on at Rice University, sent by the White House to Rice University. This is what it is. So the truth now is in front of us. The truth now is in front of us. What is this?
That's the actual time. It's actually a little under a year. It's hours. We thought it was 8,612 days. That would have been about 23 years and a half. But 8,612 hours of service is
I can't see it. Simone's adding
358 days and 20 hours of service.
358
days.
So a year.
Basically, a year of service, yeah, volunteers.
A year of volunteer service.
So yeah, we thought it said days, which would have been 20.
It would have been 24 years.
Yes.
No, it's not days, it's hours.
Yes.
They said
8,612 hours.
Yeah, 8,612 hours is
358 days and 20 hours.
So basically, I got awarded for a year's worth of volunteer work. And that feels good. It definitely does. And so it's that really warms my heart, to be recognized as a volunteer. And I urge you all to do that volunteer work. You know, this is what we've been preaching for the year. It's interesting. For the year, we've been preaching this. The idea of volunteering for your culture. It's in the gospel of hip hop itself, the idea of volunteering. You have to want to just do this. So listen, y'all, this is the first part of the lesson. Now, why did I bring all of this up? Because we're talking on a larger level about being led by truth. Led by truth. Not holding on to your old ideas, but being led by truth. Standing firm on what you believe is true from way back. But can you mature, further develop? That's what I'm experiencing right now. Right now. I'm a staunch critic of government, but now everyone is. There's no more fire in there's no more flame anymore. So what, Chris? We all got the same ideas, including the government itself. I got to come up with some new rhetoric, right? So no, it's not even about that. When you've reached my age and the work that you've put down, when you've reached a point where you have achieved, and this is it, this is the physical embodiment of it, another Lifetime Achievement Award for KRS-One, another one. I have a lot of these, but this one is from the White House now. Lifetime Achievement Award in that sense, okay? When you achieve a Lifetime Achievement Award, it's your it's your life that you're looking at. It's the consciousness and the development of that consciousness over your lifetime. And so for me, it's really now a matter of, for us, I'm saying as a teaching, are we going to follow the truth, or are we going to stay stagnant in old ideas? And to get to a level of truth, you have to come with overstanding. Not just understanding, but overstanding. You got to experience what you know. It's not just enough to know something. Knowing is good. That's that light that shines the way. But at some point, you have to experience your knowing to know that it's true, or efficient, or useful, or even real. You have to experience your knowing. This is overstanding. Understanding deals with intelligence. To understand something simply means to have an intimate relation with that thing. You know what it is, whether that be through feeling, touch, any of the five senses, or through thinking. All of this is intelligence, and intelligence is understanding. Understanding is not book knowledge. Understanding is not I told you something and now you understand it. No, understanding has to do with intelligence. The more you understand, the broader your intelligence. You could understand things you've never read. That makes you intelligent. Just knowing, just being able to interpret what a thing is expands your intelligence. That is understanding. Overstanding, though, is when you experience your intelligence. This is a different level of knowing, meaning that you may think something and understand it. Like, you could think of a unicorn, and you can understand a unicorn. It's all mental. But have you ever rode one? Have you ever actually seen a real unicorn and fed the unicorn something to eat? That would be overstanding. Now, obviously, a unicorn doesn't exist. So you can use other things that actually do exist. You may know what faith is intellectually, but have you ever experienced it? You may know what a miracle is, but have you experienced it? It's the experience that makes you really understand what the miracle is. The word miracle doesn't explain miracle. Even your knowledge of the definition of a miracle does not explain a miracle. It is when you're there and the miracle happens. Now you have overstanding. This is what we're going to discuss today, because I'm gaining overstanding through this tour that we're doing promoting the Temple of Hip Hop. one thing I just thought of before we go forward. I got this book. Oh, you can't see it. Oh, here we go. Right? Got this book. The Aquarian Gospel of Jesus the Christ. The Christos. This dude right here. Now look at this. This is a newer version of the book. But this book right here is the book I left home with. I had two books, as a matter of fact. It was this one and the Essene Gospel of Peace. This was the one when I first left home to pursue my philosophical path. I'm about 16. I'm going to pursue my philosophical path. I'm going to see if God is real, and I'm going to be an MC. That was my whole deal. I had this book. Now, I get to Houston, okay? I sit down to do a podcast. I think it was called Off the Record, but I was in a place called Off the Record. But I sat down and did this podcast. When I sat down to do this part with a dude named DJ Rob G, another legend in Houston for hip hop. Well, he understood. It was so refreshing to sit down with another hip hop cultural specialist. He pulled out the Houston for us, and then went into me. And of course, he knew everything that the Temple of Hip Hop was studying and came forward. And he said, look, I know that when you left home, you were studying this. Let's talk about this. And we started to get into it. One of the pages we got into, because his friend, another person who was there, was a Master Mason, Freemason. They're there. And so we get into this conversation about this book. And I want to read you what the Freemason had brought to my attention, and we was sitting around discussing this piece right here. But here's what happened, okay? Now, mind you, we're following truth. Truth is life. It's in your life. It's random. People are coming up, giving you stuff, talking stuff, showing you stuff. This is how you learn. It's not so much about remembering the knowledge, it's about experiencing the knowledge. I was reminded about the Temple of Hip Hop in a very inspiring way at this podcast I was on. Here's what happened. In this conversation with Rob G, and I'm trying to remember the other gentleman's name, but all I remember is that he was a Mason, Freemason, and was knowledgeable. And he pointed me to a passage here in this book. It's chapter 20. And I remember as a kid reading chapter 20. And I read most of this book, but chapter 20 had a specific message to it. Now, being a Freemason, the gentleman, he pointed me to this, and as I read it, you'll see why. Freemasons, you'll see why. But when I was a kid, I didn't relate to Freemasonry at all. I did not know this is what I was reading. I had no idea. I was just applying the raw knowledge to my mind and character. That's it. I didn't need to know, oh, this is Freemasonry. This is the Temple of Light. Christ did this. Da-da-da-da-da. None of that mattered. It was the raw knowledge that the truth of what was being presented is what was guiding me. Now, look at this. Let me read you this. This is chapter 20 of this particular book. I'm on paragraph 12. One day, oh, wait. Let me come down here. Hold on. Okay, so they're talking about Jesus. Right. So they're talking about, wait a minute, let me set this book up for you real quick, okay? The Aquarian Gospel of Jesus the Christ. This is an alternative study of the life of Jesus. They go into his missing 18 years. They claim to get this knowledge from the Akashic records, which is a long time known record, life's record. Everything you do in life, everything you do in air. You see this substance we're in ether. Everything you do in air or in ether, in space, is recorded. And some mystics, sages, have been able to access that record through meditation and purity of mind. A gentleman named Levi is said to have achieved that level of mind and brought back with him this knowledge, which has become the Aquarian gospel of Jesus the Christ. He went into a certain dimension of knowing and pulled this book out, which discusses the missing 18 years of Jesus, the true teachings that Jesus was really teaching, what the meaning of it was, without all the hype and the fanfare. This book just came to me when I was 14, 15. By the time I get to 16, I'm halfway through this. And I'm saying, this is the path. But I don't know that I'm setting certain things on my life. Let's read. Look at this. So they're talking about Jesus, okay, as a young boy. One day, as he was bringing forth the tools for work, he said, he's talking to his father, Joseph, he said, "These tools remind me of the ones we handle in the workshop of the mind, where things were made of thought and where we built up character." I'm going to continue reading, but let me just start with this right here. Okay, I'm 16, really 14 because I've already read this, but through this time, let me read this to you one more time. One day, as he was bringing forth the tools for work, he said, "These tools remind me of the ones we handle in the workshop of the mind, where things were made of thought and where we build up character." Tools of the mind build character. We use the square to measure all our lines, to straighten out the crooked places of the way, and make the corners of our conduct square. The corners of our conduct. Look at the poetry of it. We use the compass to draw circles around our passions and desires to keep them in the bounds of righteousness. We use the axe to cut away the knotty, useless, and ungainly parts and make the character symmetrical. We use the hammer to drive home the truth and pound it in until it is a part of every part. We use the plane to smooth the rough, uneven surfaces of joint and block and board that go to build the temple for the true. This is what this is what I started looking at, because I'm reading this 40 years earlier. The chisel, line, the plummet, and the saw all have their uses in the workshop of the mind. And then this ladder, with its trinity of steps, faith, hope, and love. On it, we climb up to the dome of purity in life. Here's the line. And on the 12-step ladder, we ascend until we reach the pinnacle of that which life is spent to build, the temple of perfected man. This is it. This is it. This was the path. The temple of perfected men. This is not just the temple of hip hop's vision for hip hop. This is the vision. Okay? That's it. There's nothing else. This is it. This is the shining path. All spirituality, all religions, all governments, all of it operates right here. What are we trying to do? Make a more perfect union? Get to the deification of humanity? Get to the temple of the perfected person? People say, oh, ain't nobody perfect. I'm only human. That's why they slaves. And I say that respectfully, because the knowledge of God does not talk like that. We talk about the perfection of ourselves, not ego. Oh, I'm perfect. No, you're not. But to reach for perfection. Oh, you may never get to perfection, but to reach for it is way more powerful than somebody who just wallows in failure, mistake, blah, blah, blah. Everything that means you don't go nowhere. No, reach for perfection. Reach for advancement. Reach for maturity. Reach for development. Love and develop yourself. That's what this is preaching. Now get this. So this has got thrusted onto me as I walk into Houston. I walk into a podcast and Freemasons are there, hip hoppers are there. We pull this out and we start getting into chapter 20. As I'm going through chapter 20, the Mason is telling me, don't you see the temple of hip hop with the temple of perfect? Do you not see? I'm like, yes, I do see it. He says, this is what we're following. This is what it is. We're all on the same path. We're calling this and that, and you got a lodge, I got a temple, you got a church, this one got a synagogue, that one got a mosque. Really, if you on this path for real, you in the temple of perfected man. And man meaning human. The temple of perfected being. Perfect your being. This brings me back to, why did we read skill instead of overstanding? Because overstanding came this week. This is not an excuse. We were supposed to read faith. Okay, that's what was supposed to happen. But no, we read skill. And this week, it's overstanding. Skill and overstanding. In fact, skill seems to lead to your overstanding. To perform a skill is to put your knowledge to use. So if we're being led by the spirit of our teachings, we're being shown something in life, not in book, but in life. We're being shown something. Skill is volunteerism. For you to get educated, you got to volunteer yourself. You have to want to be educated. You have to want to be knowledgeable. You have to want to be disciplined. You have to want to be righteous. All of this, you have to volunteer to do it. If you're going to work for your community, you got to volunteer. If you're going to work for poor people, you got to volunteer. Ignorant people, ignorant respectfully, you just don't know. You got to volunteer. I never looked at my work as volunteerism, I never see myself as a volunteer in that way. Like, to recognize me as a volunteer. I don't see myself like that. I just see myself doing the work that I think is right. I think this is the work we're supposed to be doing for hip hop. But now you get an acknowledgement that others are saying, no, we see what you're doing and we respect it. And guess what? we're part of the group you're critiquing. It's one thing to get acknowledgement from people who agree with you, or from people who are not part of your group. No, it's one thing to get an acknowledgement from people who are part of your group and do agree with you. It's another thing to get acknowledgement from those who are not technically part of your group and technically might not agree with you. To get an acknowledgement from that is an honor, no matter where it comes from. And I want to say that as well. I don't seek presidential awards. I don't seek validations from entertainment corporations or media conglomerates. I don't seek that. But when my people come out of those institutions offering me what they can offer as a token, an acknowledgement that they see what's going on and have knowledge of it, then the teacher has to humble himself and accept that award, accept that acknowledgement, because we're still building culture here. And the culture seems to be going into government, been in entertainment, but it's going into theology now too, religion. You know, more and more people are looking at Hinduism, looking at Islam, looking at Judaism, especially with the wars and stuff, world wars and stuff going on right now, the Gaza, Israel, Russia, Ukraine, and Ethiopia, and the Sudan and all of that out there. More and more people are questioning their religious faith. And out of this conflict and out of this turmoil, we're going to get the truth. And check this, the truth may not be hip hop. That may not be the truth. Something else may come up that hip hop may be part of or connected to or totally obliviated. What do we want? We want the truth. For us, hip hop is the truth. So this is our truth. And we come with our truths to others that are experiencing truth for themselves. And with all these truths together, operating harmoniously together, we achieve God. We achieve deification. We become the gods we believe in. We become them. We become one with the Father, one with the Mother, one with the universe, one with divinity. Anybody on a spiritual path should be looking forward to that. Looking forward to that. Inspiring others toward that as well. Self-mastery, self-perfection. These things, however, require mistakes. And look at the word, they require it. Not you may make a mistake. Nope. To be an imperfect person, to be a perfect being, you have to make mistakes. That's the learning process. You have to be transformed from one thing to another. You have to be born again. Most people don't want to be born again. They want their old self and they want to stick to the old. And though you don't, therefore then you stagnate. And anything that's stagnant in nature is basically dying and shriveling. No, you want to rise to the light of the sun. You want to drink the water of wisdom. And you want to go forward. You want to go forward. So, I bring you this piece, this little Aquarian gospel, because I've been reading this now for almost 40 years now. But it came to me, out of all the books to come, this one came by the hand of really Rob G, DJ Rob G, but DJ Rob G, the general, but it sparked a conversation with Rashad, my Freemason brother there, and we was doing our thing. And we are realizing amongst ourselves who we are. Not Chris by himself, not the Mason by himself, not the hip-hop scholar by himself, but all of us coming together, showing each other, Suddenly, the three of us became something we could not see individually. Today, we're talking about perform over standing. Got your gospel of hip hop, bring it out. Yes, indeed. I'm on page 172. This is the 10th performance. To perform over standing. In all things, seek the deeper meaning. And you know that each one of these paragraphs, for those that are going to teach this, every performance of the divine performance, all 18 performances, the first paragraph sums up the whole performance. The rest of it is an explanation, but if you want to just sum up the first part of it, it's always in the first paragraph. Perform over standing. In all things, seek the deeper meaning. And look at this. I can't even go forward. I can't even go, because look at what I'm saying. In all things. What does that mean? Yeah, in all things. Seek the deeper meaning. Because the meaning you're applying right now is not the meaning to that thing, or person, or event, or circumstance. Always be ready to go deeper, to ask another question, to probe a little further in. In all things, seek the deeper meaning. Truly seek to know the pain, joy, needs, and wants of those who you may come in contact with. Cultivate your mind to truly understand the situations and circumstances of others. This sounds like perform listening as well. Even just for a moment, join them in their life experience. Know this, to understand is to comprehend whatever you have been taught. However, to overstand is to experience whatever you have been taught, such as the essence of wisdom and spiritual leadership. At all times, perform overstanding. Seek to know through experience your own views as well as the views of others. This is the key. Seek to know through experience your own views. Not just, I don't like it. I'm against abortion. I'm for abortion. No. Substantiate what you think, what you believe, with a real life experience. So you could get the overstanding. You'll notice that those that are pro-choice and have the opportunity to have an abortion, sometimes they get right to the abortion clinic and be like, no, I can't do this. It's a real life situation. Not, I'm pro-choice. I believe in a woman's right to choose. That's knowledge. That's a view. But now the pregnancy and the real baby in the real stomach and the real. And you say, nah, I can't do this. I got to have this baby. I got to go on. That's overstanding. On the flip side, I'm pro-life. I'm pro-life. I don't believe in a woman's right to choose. I think birth starts at conception. I think birth starts with a beating heart. Now here comes real life. Something jumps off, rape, disease, something, or I just don't want this baby. But you pro-life. This is the point. People are not applying overstanding, meaning life. Life don't care what you think. Life does not care about your view. Life is life. And when you live life, you gain truth. And when you gain truth, you live a righteous life, no matter what you do. Because you're being guided by life. Life is guiding you. You're not guiding you. So you can't take responsibility even for what you're doing. That's the elimination of karma as well. If you allow life to guide you, there's no karma. You're not the one acting. Life is acting, and you are one with life. And so the point here to point out is at all times perform overstanding. Seek to know through experience your own views as well as the views of others. That's key. Yes, you can have a view. And look at what I just said earlier too. You can have your view. Like you can say, yo, I rest on this. But don't think that that view you have is going to match life. Sometimes life demands for the vegetarian to eat a burger. Sometimes life demands for the thief to give back what they stole. Or for the one who is robbed to allow the thief the goods. Are you being led by your own emotions, or are you allowing the truth and righteousness and life itself to lead you into the kingdom of heaven? But if you can't be led, then how are you supposed to get there? Your kingdom of heaven is going to be only in your own mind. I'm sticking to my views. I'm sticking to what I know. I ain't changing from it. Well, then you're trapped in your own thing, because life is bigger than all of us. And we're never going to comprehend all of life. But there is a way. By giving up your life, you gain your life. Wow. I think that's in the Bible, actually. By giving up your meaning, by giving up the control you think you have over your life, you're led right to where you're supposed to be. You're led there. And the leading there will contradict everything you know. God is outside of all of this. So contradiction comes. That's what the miracle is, right? God came. And what you thought it was about sickness, God said that it was never the truth. Sickness gone. You think it's about poverty. Poverty's real. I ain't got no money. God said, no, it's an illusion. Here's the truth. And this is, you call it a miracle. Why? Because you're living a lie, living in illusion. So when someone comes with the truth, it looks like a miracle. There are no miracles. There is only truth. That's the miracle. Look, I'm considered a great MC in performance. It's the truth, okay? I give, this is what it is. Now somebody else who's not the authentic culture, but mimicking the culture, coming through, you are the truth as long as I'm not around, or someone like me is not around. You are the truth. But the minute I show up, it's a miracle. What you thought was real is not real no more. Because what you thought was real was never real. You just thought it was. So this is the key to overstanding and being led by life. Being led by life. Here we go. Never settle for simply being educated. For with spiritual overstanding comes discernment, and with discernment comes agreement, resolution, conclusion, and solutions. While knowledge makes you aware of things, overstanding makes you aware of the character and nature of things. For it is not enough to know whatever you know. You must also experience the things that you know in order to truly know them and correctly apply them. More than just knowing something, it is far better to experience whatever you know. This is the essence of wisdom and true leadership. Overstanding proves the vitality of one's acquired knowledge. Know this, just because you have been educated does not mean that your education is truly productive to your real life. Theories must be tested, and facts change all the time. The true hip-hopper does not just read the gospel of hip-hop, she performs the overstandings of this gospel and proves to herself the value of this gospel in real life. The teacher must know for sure that the gospel of hip hop truly works in real life before she can seek to teach it to others. The teacher must be certain of the trueness and authenticity of the gospel of hip hop. Such certainty is found in the heart. The trueness of this gospel is determined by its compatibility with your heart. Does this path feel right to you? You cannot teach this gospel if you are uncertain of its overstandings, if you are still in doubt. Know this, the teacher argues on behalf of the gospel of hip hop, not for the sake of winning, but for the sake of offering others the possibility of experiencing health, love, awareness, and wealth. He argues only from experience and for the sake of reaching harmonious agreements between parties of conflicting opinions. You must always seek to understand the things. Again, you must always seek to understand the things that you know, and always seek to experience the understandings of this gospel. Live by your productive experiences. And this is the truth right here. Look at this. Live by the productive experiences of your life. Learn to repeat the actions of your own success. That's the key line. Live by the productive experiences of your life and learn to repeat the actions of your success. Learn from the mistakes as well as from the achievements made by your actions as well as the actions of others. Discipline is a result of wisdom and overstanding. Applied wisdom is overstanding. A hip-hopper's wisdom is manifested in that hip-hopper's life. It proves that he truly overstands. More than just talking about what they have experienced, you can see the results of a hip-hopper's wisdom by the effects in and of that hip-hopper's life. Joy is an effect of overstanding. Peace is an effect of overstanding. Mercy, compassion, justice, patience are all effects of overstanding. However, you can be wise and not experience any of these virtues. Be guided, keyword. You can be wise and not experience any of this. What I just meant, justice, patience, mercy, compassion. You could be wise and still not experience this. Look at this. Be guided. Wisdom and knowledge are two different things. Wisdom can be achieved through life experiences, while knowledge can be acquired through educational, intellectual studies. But to overstand is to have experienced them both. To understand is to act upon what you know and have experienced. That's another piece of understanding. To act upon what you know. Not just wait for the event, not just wait for your knowing to manifest, but act on what you know. Knowledge proves that you know some things. Wisdom proves that you have experienced some things. But overstanding proves that you are active in both your knowledge and wisdom of things. For it is the guidance of our God that adds valuable experiences to our knowledge. Such experiences create wisdom. But even the wise are not always motivated to act. This is the other point I was trying to make earlier. Even the wise are not always motivated to act. They have experience, yet they are not always experiencing. Know this, wisdom is not righteousness. In fact, to be wise, one must go through some very unrighteous situations. One must experience things that can only be experienced in failure, fear, and ignorance. And after one has learned from such fearful and ignorant experiences, one then becomes wise. For when knowledge is backed by experience and the hip hopper can skillfully apply them both while performing life, that hip hopper is said to be overstood. For it has been said that, quote, the experience gathered from books is of the nature of learning. The experience gained from actual life is of the nature of wisdom. And a small store of the latter is worth vastly more than any stock of the former, end quote. That was Samuel Smiles' Self-Help, New York, American Book Company, 1904. Perform overstanding. Perform your overstanding. Be immersed in your experiences. Your experiences is the knowledge, is the wisdom. And these words are not even the words, because they fall short. They fall short of what life really is, and the experience of life. What it actually really is not really knowledge or wisdom. It's this other piece that we call overstanding. That's, oh, the sunlight's coming in, you see that? It's this other piece called overstanding. And that's what we're discussing today. In fact, that's what I'm actually experiencing right now, is this level of overstanding, where you have like, you know, I know, you know, I know hip hop, but to experience it is different. There's another knowledge in that. Like I said, I know there is police corruption, but the experience of it, and not the police corruption against you, but to experience police culture gives you a different take. It doesn't erase it. And that's the part that makes these other, like when you see, like when we say Black Lives Matter, and then you see some idiot putting up Blue Lives Matter, that is a crime. That is disrespectful. When they say Black Lives Matter, and then you say all lives matter, that's disrespectful, because the intent of Black Lives Matter, the intent of it is that you was acting like black life didn't matter. That's why that statement has to be made. So if you acting like black life don't matter, we have to say, no, black life does matter. But then you're gonna respond and say, blue life matters. So again, you're confirming what we're saying, black life don't matter. Because you say blue life matter, or matter of fact, all life matters. Nah. The experience is showing you what's going on. Black lives matter, no, blue lives matter. Now you see an element within law enforcement that we are talking about. Now they expose themselves. The truth brings the lie right out. The truth, justice, brings the crime right out. So here's the justice statement as an example. Black lives matter. Now the criminal comes out. Boop. No, blue lives matter. That wasn't the point, stupid. That wasn't the point. But now you exposed yourself. You don't think black life matters, period. The only life you think that matters is your own. But we are not going to have that overstanding until the truth comes up, you act stupid, now we can see the whole thing. Not just Black Lives Matter because we think black life matters. But Black Life Matters, it exposes the criminal now, who jumps right in his place. So I say this also to say, truth is not about exchanging one thing for the other. It's about getting the deeper meaning to it. I thought it was this, now I know it's this. I had an inkling that it was this. I was educated in school that it was this. But now I experienced it. Now I know for certain it's this. Or vice versa. I was taught something in school. My mom's told me something. I learned something in a book. I got a little older, had an experience, and I realized it wasn't true. I had knowledge of it. The knowledge was true. The education was true. But the real life of it was not true. Was not true. And this is the point to the being guided in life. And this is the teaching today. This is what our teaching is today. It's about allowing yourself to be guided by the truth. And that's what overstanding is about. Of course, just to recap real quick, I find that this overstanding is what I was experiencing this week. No, I'm not being compromised. There's no gun to my head. Nobody's forcing me to do anything. None of this. I'm volunteering. And I'm volunteering because I'm not even volunteering. I'm just doing what I think is right. We got this magnificent culture called hip hop. It saved us from sickness, hatred, ignorance, and poverty. And we're just gonna let that be exploited. We're just gonna let our self-expression, what we created and put into the world, and is successful and is helping the world, what we did for the world, we're just gonna let that die out. No, not at the temple of hip hop. You know, according to President Biden now, or his office at least, this organization through KRS-One, or KRS-One through this organization, the Temple of Hip Hop, is doing the work, is doing governmental work. We now have actual documentation. This is actual documentation. We actually have this now. That says unequivocally that, we're doing what we're supposed to do. I don't care who you are. Government can't just give you this and, just give it to you because you're a celebrity. No, they recognize this doesn't say anything about my music. Nothing. This says about you as a volunteer with 8,000 hours. That's what this says. And so the recognition of that is the overstanding. Is the overstanding. I have knowledge of government and that, but when you start moving, I have knowledge of Rice University. The professors were right there, knowledgeable. But somehow they felt they had to call the White House for the teacher to come through and award me with this award. I'm grateful, I'm humbled, and I'm excited. We did our work, y'all. We did our work through Texas. Texas is familiar with the Temple of Hip Hop also, and also we're promoting Hip Hop Appreciation Week, Hip Hop History Month, the whole nine. But we've made our mark in Texas, specifically Dallas and Houston, and specifically Houston. We're gonna be back here as well. We're gonna be doing more work, obviously. I'm gonna teach this course at Rice University as well. We're gonna do our thing and turn out more hip hop cultural specialists. For those who are already hip hop cultural specialists, the certificate that you got, the last one, the latest one that you got, is the one that we're going to be offering to universities as well. They were ecstatic. We didn't give it to them yet because they didn't take the course, but they were ecstatic. They were like, oh, we're gonna get a certificate. Everybody clapped in the room. I was like, well, you gotta take the course first though, it is what it is. But the point is that you remember that when we were teaching the hip hop cultural specialist course, I was saying to you that there's gonna come a time where you as a cultural specialist are gonna be sent to these universities to give the course. You gotta be right. You gotta be thorough. These are real professionals, real professors, real academicians that are going to test your knowledge of hip hop. And you have to be convincing and authoritative and accurate. And that's what we teach. That's what our course is all about. I left them the course as well. Those of you that took the last course, you remember we had a flash drive of the book. You received a flash drive of the book, 2 lectures, a couple other things on this flash drive. I gave the flash drive to Rice University as well. And we're going to be going over this here as well. And other universities are going to join in. So if you are a hip hop cultural specialist, brush up. Remember, I told you have to live up to your title. You know, you remember what the key word of specialist is devotion. Be devoted to the mastery and perfecting of yourself. And you too are going to be right out here teaching, right out here pushing hip hop as culture forward. That's our week, y'all. That's our read. That's our read this week. Thank you again to the Temple members that did catch the fact that we did skip a couple of weeks in that sense. We're back on track in that sense, and we're taking advantage of our mistakes and errors. On a spiritual path, you have to. So if you're making errors and making mistakes, use this error, as you can see right here, as an inspiration to go forward. Because we're all making errors. It's required for perfection. Until next week, I'll see you then. KRS-One, we out. Peace, y'all.